What if I told you that there's a proven four-step formula that's helped musicians land thousands of sync placements? My name is Michael Elsner, and joining me today is music supervisor Jody Friedman, and today we're going to break down the sync placement formula. Jody,
Yo,
welcome. Always fun to hang out with you. I feel
always.
like I hang out with you almost on a daily basis, but it's always fun.
It is. We have a good time talking about this stuff. And I mean, the sync placement formula was, it was a matter of analyzing all the success that not only we were having with our careers, but speaking to other musicians, other experts that are crushing it in the space, and realizing that everybody essentially follows these four steps, whether they knew it or not. So let's start with step one.
Step one is a bit of a common sense here, right? It always starts with a good song. Now, what's interesting here is that it's easy to blow over this. But when it comes to sync specifically, there are very specific things that work when it comes to getting music into TV that doesn't necessarily work as far as like radio and vice versa, right? When we're writing for radio, we're writing for a very specific outlet. Very specific things work. Keeping the intro short, getting to the chorus fairly quickly, that's important for radio. With licensing, a lot of those songwriting rules don't necessarily translate. In fact, I think one of the dumbest things that people say is "Don't bore us, get to the chorus." It's a stupid phrase. It basically says nothing is valuable in the song, just get to the chorus. But the reality is that you might get your biggest placement from the verse and a pre-chorus of the song. You might get your biggest placement from an intro of the song, right? Every part of your song is extremely valuable. But along with that, you have to keep in mind certain aspects of the actual production process. And that is adding in like edit points or just being aware of them. You got to be aware that there's going to be a person called a music editor who's going to edit up your song, right? He's going to take maybe a 3-minute song and smush it down to maybe 37 seconds. And when you're creating the actual production of the song, you want to be aware of that. You want to have clear edit points in the song that an editor can utilize. So there are very, very specific elements that go into step one of this process that go beyond just writing a good song. There are certain things that you can add to that song that actually make it work for sync, edit points being just one of them. I'd love to hear your perspective when it comes to the quality over quantity approach
Yeah.
of writing music.
For me, it's always about quality. I think that quality will win every time. You could have 100 songs that are good and one song that's flipping amazing. That one song's going to get used again and again and again and again. And the 100 good songs, you might get a little bit of one here, a little bit of one there, a little bit of one here. But that one quality song can carry a catalog really far. And it's really, I mean, over the years, I represent so much music and it really is the cream of the crop rises to the top. I know which songs in my catalogs perform really well. So when it comes time and are actually received really well by the people I send the music to. So when it comes time to pitch to a brief, which is, an opportunity in a film or a TV show that needs music, I'm looking first at those songs because they're the highest quality in terms of what's working for sync. Now, some of them may not be recorded as good as others, but when I'm thinking of quality, I'm thinking of recording quality. Is it syncable? Is it marketable? Is it unique in a way that really grabs the listener? That's the true test of a good song or a good record is, when I'm screening music, I have my hand on the next button. I'm just looking for a reason to say no. And if I keep my finger there and I don't hit the button, I think, okay, maybe the song has something. And then I wait for the vocals to start if it's a vocal song. And my hand goes towards the next. And then I'm like, okay, the voice is capturing me. So it's always, we've been trained as to listen to music with an A&R ear. And what that requires to keep the quality control high is really being a music snob and saying, is this blowing my mind or not? That doesn't mean it has to be a vocal song that has amazing lyrics. It could be an instrumental piece, but the quality has to be there 100%.
So let's talk about a couple mistakes that people make on the regular. And we see this all the time, specifically when it comes to this particular step of building your catalog, writing great songs. My perspective of this and my experience is that a lot of independent musicians struggle to land placements because they try to be everything in the production process. They try to be the producer, the engineer, the mixer, the instrumentalist, the vocalist, etc. And this is really one of those things that when you're doing that, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. I've had a lot of placements on TV. I'm not a bad vocalist by any means. I do all the background vocals on my tracks, but there's not been one song that I've ever had on TV where I'm the main vocalist. And the main reason for that is because I just don't have that, front man. There's nothing unique about my voice when I sing. It's not gonna stand out. Now, on background vocals, all of that can be masked pretty well and it thickens up and it creates that vibe. But it's really important to, if you're not a great vocalist, be aware of that. Bring in a great vocalist who can really emote, and really have some great emotion as they're singing the song. I can hit the notes. I'm not an emotional singer. That's why I work really good as a background vocalist. But that's a mistake that we see all the time. We see good songs, but the vocals, if you just brought in a vocalist and got yourself out of the mix on that one, everything would change. I'd love to hear your perspective of what jumps out to you.
Yeah, it's interesting as an artist to remove yourself. And I know some people are like, well, I'm not an artist, but I disagree. I think when you're a composer, producer, you're creating art, which makes you an artist. And you're recording with that art. So you are a recording artist, whether you're professional or not. So to remove yourself to think, I shouldn't sing on this, it really takes awareness of what an analysis of the song itself and what's going to best serve the song. For instance, I'll give you a good example. I recorded my EP in 2015 in Nashville, and I recorded two songs that were really like they fit me. Singer songwriter, folk acoustic. This third song we recorded, which was so close to my heart, it's called Memory Box. And as I listened to it when we were done, after months being away from it, I heard my voice on it. I thought, I really need to bring a country vocalist on this song because it is a country song, and I'm not a country vocalist.
But you just said country, like you kind of accented
I
it
did
like
it intentionally.
you
I
did
did
it
it
you did it in a
country.
very good way. I like that.
Yeah, but that's not how I speak. I would say country. And that, I was going through with the vocal coach there before the session, and he was trying to get me to say country. I'm like, I don't speak that way, man. Like, I'm not going to sing it like that. So, you know, I had to be true to me as who I am as a vocalist. And the song's fine. It's on an album. It's released in APM music, and that's fine. I haven't been any complaints about it. But I recognize that if I had brought in a country singer on that song, and I might at some point, that song will really shine because it's a beautiful song.
Yeah, it's great awareness. So another aspect to this particular step in the process is a question that comes up often is how many songs do I need to start? Well, we have a student of ours who has a 4-song EP. They have over 60 placements with a 4-song EP. Now, they're really good songs. In fact, one of the songs on that EP has had over 40 placements. So this goes with what you're saying about really having quality over quantity. You can get started with licensing with a 4-song EP as long as the quality is there. And that's going to take us to step 2 of the process, which we call creating the valuable content. And you have to keep in mind that when you're working in sync, you're really working in the entertainment industry, not the music industry. The people who are licensing your music, they do not work in the music industry. They work in the film industry, TV industry, video game industry, etc. And so they have an entire, that they work with and that they're also going to pass the song along to in that whole production process. The very next person they're going to pass the song along to once the music supervisor has licensed the song is an individual called a music editor. The music editor then is going to cut the song up. They're going to hand those assets over to a re-recording mixer whose job is to mix all the music with the dialogue and the sound design and make for a great viewing and listening experience when you're watching that show. Step 2 of the process is what we call creating the valuable content. And this is the content that gets handed off to the music editor and the re-recording mixer. These are various alternate mixes that you can create from your song. If you have a vocal song, you just strip off the vocal, you have instantly an instrumental. But depending on the instrumentation in your song, you can go pretty far. You could strip off all the electric instruments and just have the vocal with the acoustic guitar. Now you have an acoustic mix, or maybe add in a piano or whatever. You can have a stripped down mix. If you have take off all the electric instruments, but leave the acoustic instruments with bass and drums. There you go. There's your stripped down mix. And there's quite a wide variety of mixes that you can create from your song, again, depending on the instrumentation that you have and how big the production is. Another thing you're going to want to deliver are stem mixes. This is absolutely crucial. The reason for this is because we mix music in stereo, right? TV shows, films, commercials, they're mixed in surround. So by delivering stem mixes, not only does it allow the re-recording mixer to adjust levels accordingly to actually fit, in the scene as needed, but then it also allows them to throw that music into the surround field instead of being reliant on your stereo mix.
Yeah, 100%. Not having stems has cost me a lot of money, losing out on big placements by not having those stems available. And it is a mindset shift. You said it earlier. We're not in the music industry. We work in the film business, the TV business, the trailer business, the commercial business, the video game business, the podcast business, anywhere that's going to license your music. YouTube content creators license music, anywhere that licenses music to go in a project. That's how you need to think, like a producer would or like an editor would for those projects. And it is a mindset shift because I think most people view this all as entertainment, which it is, but you are now producing for the entertainment, whether you're producing music, producing the video, you are producing to serve that piece of IP. So when you think like that, now you think, how can I help serve the picture? You've got to have those alt mixes and the stems that you just mentioned.
Right. In fact, the student we have who I was just sharing earlier, who has the one song that has over 40 placements, that particular song has been used on The Voice, I believe, 16 times now.
It's
And
awesome.
of those 16 placements on The Voice, only 6 of them were the full mix with the vocals. The other 10 placements were the various alternate mixes that she was able to deliver. That's why step 2 is absolutely so crucial. It really exponentially increases the value of your song catalog.
Oh,
That leads
what's
us.
what's amazing about Ashley, that's Ashley, right? We're talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
Ashley, is
yeah.
that I don't think she does sync full time, right? This is not her full-time jam. She just dabbles in it or dabbled in it. So like, but she still crushes it because of those placements. She's getting so much in royalties from those placements. This goes back to that quality over quantity. That's why it can just carry you so far. I think she tours as a DJ and
Yeah,
she was playing
yeah,
it with Tim McGraw recently or coming up with Tim McGraw.
yeah, it's a bunch of the
Incredible.
country artists. I don't follow her touring schedule, but yeah, I know that she's,
And she's
very
our
active
Think
in
Titan
the
Award winner.
country
Yeah,
market, yeah, and
yeah,
she's
and she's
also you're right, she is one of our Sync Titan award winners. She's had over 50 placements, so she has that Sync Titan award. And that leads us to step 3, which is mastering metadata, and metadata is absolutely crucial. You have to have metadata on your song so that your song can be searched, auditioned, and ultimately licensed when a relevant search comes up. Now, this is the one aspect of licensing that I really attribute my success to. I always say that, my songs are good. My production is pretty good. My metadata is just really second to none. I really believe that that's the reason why I've had such success and continue to have success with even older catalogs that I have. The metadata aspect is completely different than what we are familiar with in the metadata considering the traditional music path, right? When we're uploading our songs to various online streaming sites and whatnot, it's going to ask for metadata. That metadata is entirely different than the metadata that we're going to add to a song that we're actually putting out into the sync market. The process that Jody and I teach has 26 specific elements of metadata. You can basically look at that as a spreadsheet, 26 columns. It's very, 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 very thorough. And the purpose of that is so that every time a search comes across a music supervisor's desk or a music library rep or a sync agent or whoever you're working with, when they get a brief, they're going to type in very specific criteria that relates to that brief into their database, whatever program they're using to house their catalog. And when your song is a perfect fit for it, meaning your metadata matches what they're looking for, your song is going to be at the bottom of the search funnel. Now, they're going to search through hundreds of thousands of songs. You want to be in that final group of 10 to land the placements. If you're not in that final group, you will never land the placement. And the only way to get into that final group that they're going to listen to is through thorough metadata. Jody and I, we refer to this as premium metadata because you can have thorough metadata, but unless you go deep into it like we do, you're still going to be left out in the cold.
Yeah. I think people make the mistake often. I see many libraries and artists make the mistake of just throwing a bunch of words in their metadata, just thinking, well, the more options I give them, the more chance I'm going to come up. But if you start coming up in search results where you're not a match, people just start to ignore your albums because it's not a match. It's wasting their time. So it's that. And then oftentimes at the very basic level, if you just have, track one instead of your song title and no artist name, and this happens all the time, or no contact information, you just lost out on a $10,000 placement because I can't reach out to you. So metadata is crucial. It's how music supervisors, like Michael said, we find your song out of millions of songs. And most people think of it as an afterthought.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. When it comes to you and your actual process of finding music, where do you start?
My brain, I rack my brain for who do I know that has what I'm looking for, and whoever comes to mind is who I reach out to, or I'll go onto their website, their catalog, whether it's on Source Audio or their own website.
So you're referring specifically to like music libraries that you reach out to.
Yeah, I reach out to music libraries for certain searches. For some searches, I'll reach out not to music libraries. I'll reach out to labels and publishers and sync agents.
Do you ever reach out to independent musicians? This is kind of where I'm headed with the question.
Very rarely. I would say maybe 1 to 2% of the time I'll reach out to an independent musician. I mean, I'll give you a great example of that. And this is very rare, but it was the perfect timing for Ethan Bloom. We produced this film about a year ago called Ethan Bloom. Hopefully, it'll show up on streaming at some point here. But there was this end scene where they wanted a cover of. No, they didn't want a cover of "Steal Away." The song "Steal Away" was in the film. Robbie Dupree's "Steal Away."
Yeah,
You know Robbie personally,
I
right?
do know Robbie personally. Yeah.
And there's the director and I, we were talking about the creative direction of the project, and we started leaning towards yacht rock. Took place in Miami. There was a little bit of the hokiness, cheesiness factor, so we thought it'd be kind of fun to use some yacht rock in it. So my mind goes right to, well, there's not a lot of yacht rock artists out there, even on the major labels. There's not. It's not really a thing, right? Yacht rock was a time, and unless you were working with Michael McDonald, it wasn't really yacht rock, right? Some people would argue that. So I first thought of these friends of mine from 20 years ago when I lived in Atlanta called the Yacht Rock Review. They have different iterations of their band. They tour around the US and they cover a bunch of yacht rock songs and they write their own originals. So I reached out to them because I personally knew them from a long time ago. Do you have anything new? And they sent me their album. And wouldn't you know it, a cover of Steal Away was on the album and it was perfect for the film. So that rarely happens, but in that instance, it was just because I had a long-standing relationship with them. It was exactly what we were looking for, and nobody else was gonna have what they delivered in that album. It was just meant to be. So, yeah,
For musicians right now who are looking to get their music into the hands of supervisors, what is your advice to them?
go with someone who already has built the relationship. Go with a sync agent. Go with a music library rep. Focus on the music. The music comes first. Focus on the quality. Again, it doesn't have to be a vocal song. Listen to what's on TV and being used. Listen to what's in commercials and being used, and then decide where you fit into that and focus on what you do as a producer and as an artist and as a creator. If you do that and you're really honing in, the sync agents and the libraries, they're going to naturally come to you. They're going to find you.
And that leads us to step 4. Step 4 is getting your music heard, which was really getting your music into the right hands. Now, I just came from a music convention, and the main topic that a lot of independent musicians who were there were talking about is I just want to get my hands to music supervisors. How do I meet music supervisors? How do I meet music supervisors? And I always have to kind of tell them, well, you got to squeeze the brakes here, right? Because while that's the natural inclination for musicians to get their music into the hands of music supervisors, they've really been taught incorrectly, right? They've been misled to the fact that, oh, it's so easy. Just get your music into the hands of music supervisors. The tough thing here is that when the door opens and you do get your song into the hands of a music supervisor, if it doesn't have step 2 apply to it, if you don't have your various alternate versions and stems and even cut down mixes ready to go, they're not going to be able to hand those assets off to the next person in line. And depending on how you work, if you work with a producer or whatever, you're going to have to go back to them and start getting that stuff squared away. we have extremely tight deadlines in the TV and film world. And the reality is that that opening might not exist for you to take a week or two to connect with your producer and get those assets. The reality is oftentimes this has to be delivered within a day or two. So without step two in the process, that whole process of reaching out to music supervisors and even getting in with them can backfire on you tremendously. That also leads us into step three, the metadata. If you do get an opportunity to connect with a music supervisor and you give them your music, chances of them being able to use it right now are slim. Maybe they're working on a project where in 3 weeks they can use it, maybe in 6 weeks, maybe in 6 months. But the reality is that with all the music coming their way and all the music that they have to listen to in their day to day job, they're ultimately going to forget your song. So that's where the metadata is so crucial. Because if you do have an opportunity to get with them and connect with them and give them your music and they get to put it into their catalog, you want to make sure that you have so much metadata that thoroughly and accurately describes your song that when they get a brief or a request from a director or producer or showrunner or whoever they're working with, they can just type in specific keywords or a description into their catalog, whatever program they're using to house their music catalog. You want to make sure that your music ends up, again, as I said before, at the bottom of that search funnel. So without like literally the premium metadata attached to that song, that opportunity to give that music supervisor your music can easily be wasted. And all of that effort from finishing your song, just going directly to that event where you get to meet that music supervisor, ultimately becomes a waste because you didn't add in steps two and three of the process. And Jody, I know you see this all the time.
Yeah. What that does is it serves the sync ecosystem instead of trying to land a quick placement and earn a quick buck. And if you follow the system, the sync placement formula, you are serving the funnel system or the sync ecosystem that all funnels down through a music supervisor onwards to editors and producers and directors. It allows the music supervisor to focus on doing their job. And it's very unlikely they're going to take the CD you handed them and listen to it at home because they get busy, not because they don't want to. I know music supervisors like listening to music. I used to love the drive to and from LA. Any CDs I had, I'd pop in the CD player. Now it's not that easy to do that. But sometimes on the drive, if I have a streaming link someone sends me, I'll just pop it on. So we do like listening to music, but and that's the time where, if
Is
something
it a
breaks,
little
yeah,
harder to do it now, Jody, because
it's a
cars
lot
no longer
harder.
come with CD
Well,
players?
it's definitely harder to do it. Yeah, that's what I actually miss that. I miss having a stack of CDs that I could
Yeah,
pop in the CD player and just
yeah.
listen to. I think even your album, Michael, I like listen to in the car because I wouldn't do much listening at home. I'd be working at home, then I'd drive to and from LA and I'd listen to albums in the car. But yeah, the formula serves the system. So that way when you meet with a supervisor, which you do want to do, you want to put a face to the name. My name's so and so, and I'm with so and so music. My music's in their catalog. When you say that to them, they know, oh, this person's a professional because they were already vetted by that sync agent or that library. And I can just go to the library or go to them to send me some songs and know that I'm good to go. I have nothing to worry about. When you meet a supervisor without any of that in place, they're going to be nice, but they will not trust that you understand what you're doing unless you present yourself like a professional. And these steps allow you to present yourself like a professional by having this all in place.
So there you go. The sync placement formula, there's 4 steps to it. I've landed over 3,000 placements myself following this formula literally now for the last 20 years. I've actually been doing this 21 years now. But this is the process I've followed since I started. It's gotten a lot easier over the years because now we can just send a file and the file contains everything, or a zip file specifically has everything in it. Back in the day, you actually had to send CDs and the CD had to have every version on the CD, and then you had to print on the CD all the metadata, and it was you had to put it in a manila envelope. And so it was a big process. And that's when I lived in LA and I lived down the street from people. I had to put stuff in a manila envelope. It's so much easier now, which makes it a lot of fun. And sync really is the great equalizer for us as independent musicians. So if the sync placement formula is new to you, I want to let you know that we do have this in a book form called the Pocket Guide, the Musician's Pocket Guide to License Your Songs to Film, TV, and Ads. You can buy this on Amazon, which is nice if you want to have the physical copy.
It's like $5.
You can also click on the link that's surrounding this video somewhere, and you can go download the free version in PDF format. You can get through this book in about 45 minutes. It will literally lay out every aspect of the sync placement formula. And if you've been pitching your music into an endless black hole, you haven't gotten a response from anyone you're sending your music to, this will probably make it clear why that is. A bunch of very simple fixes will change the game for you. Promise. So with that, click on the link, grab your copy. Michael Elsner, Jody Friedman, signing out. We'll see you soon. If you're interested in getting your songs into your favorite films, TV shows, commercials, trailers, and video games, you're going to want to check out the free guide below.